HR issues can kill you. One complaint against your company can turn your world upside down. And you spend way too much time dealing with HR when you should be spending your time on making a profit. You should talk to Bambi. With Bambi, get access to your own dedicated US-based HR manager starting at just $99 per month. They get to know you and your business while providing HR expertise and the personal touch you need and want. They're available by phone, email, and real-time chat, so onboarding and terminations run smoothly. Team members reach peak performance, and your business stays compliant with changing HR regulations. And with Bambi's HR Autopilot, you'll automate important HR practices like setting policies, training, and feedback. HR managers can easily cost $80,000 a year, but Bambi starts at $99 per month. Schedule your free conversation today to see how much Bambi can take off your plate. Go to Bambi.com right now and type in Accelerate under podcast when you sign up. It'll really help the show. Spelled BAM, BEE.com. Bambi.com. Type in Accelerate.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Oh, that's a cheer we used to do in softball.
What? It's actually Geico's.
Whenever someone hit a triple, we would wave our bats and yell, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. But we never got to use it because we would only hit home runs. Annoying.
The phrase is from Geico because they help save people money.
Geico? Yeah, they were our team sponsor.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Welcome to Accelerate Your Business Growth with your host, Diane Helbig. Diane is a leading small business development and leadership coach, author, and speaker who is passionate about sharing valuable ideas, tips, and techniques with business professionals worldwide. Diane brings you the world's experts and gurus in all things business. Whether it's sales, structure, social media, planning, or plateauing, guests bring their expertise and energy to each episode. When growing your business is your focus, Accelerate Your Business Growth is the show to listen to. Got a topic or guest suggestion? Let Diane know. The goal is to make sure you have the information you need to move your business forward. Thanks for joining us. Settle in and enjoy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Today's podcast is sponsored by Audible.com. Audible.com is a leading provider of spoken audio entertainment and information. Listen to audiobooks whenever and wherever you want. Get a free book when you sign up for a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/businessgrowth. We are tremendously honored that this podcast is gaining recognition as a resource for small business owners, entrepreneurs, sales professionals, from Inc.com to MSNBC's Your Business, Fit Small Business, Proven, and a whole bunch of other sites. Accelerate Your Business Growth podcast is enjoying inclusion on lists of the best podcasts to listen to. This is due in no small part to the wonderful guests that I have had the pleasure of speaking with over the years. These are folks with expertise in various areas of business, and they join me to share that expertise. They give of their time and their knowledge so that all of you can do better things in your business. Today we have such a guest. It is Mark Fowler. Mark is the president of Stowe Management Corporation and co-CEO of Revolutionary Conversations, LLC. He's a business growth and corporate reengineering expert, author, and writer, business educator, public speaker, and change leader. He specializes in transitioning companies from challenge to achievement by focusing both on enhancing revenues and profits and instituting cultural and interactive processes that substantially increase collaboration and engagement. A leader in the business engagement field for decades, he has developed systems and communication protocols stressing the importance of team empowerment and personal development. He is a member of the AICPA and the California CPA Society. Thank you so much for joining me today, Mark.
Thank you, Diane.
So I love this concept that we're going to be talking about, with these conversations, because I think people so struggle with having conversations. And I'm wondering if you can share with us how someone would go about creating a peaceful work culture.
That's a really good question, and it comes in various forms. Not all environments are alike, and not all environments lend themselves to a peaceful dynamic. You can offer, for instance, there's an awful lot of family businesses out there that, because of brothers and sisters and nephews and grandchildren and whatever, that can create a very unpeaceful environment. And that might be, and I'm not pointing at family businesses in general, I'm just saying that when you get a lot of family members together and people who have allegiances, you can create a very unpeaceful environment. Those are much more difficult sometimes to bring a peaceful environment to it, as opposed to other environments that might be more peaceful already. And the kinds of things you would do in those different environments would differ. One would be more intense and one would be more subtle. You don't want to rush into a company that's already sees itself as peaceful and try to make them more peaceful without collaborating more with them, helping them appreciate what they're already doing. In the more challenging environments, it's one of the things that we do is help educate them in more interactive, more collaborative conversations. And that's how Revolutionary Conversations came about. I'd been re-engineering companies for 10 plus years, and the thing that was most lacking was the ability for others to really get on the same page. And one of the things that we try to reinforce, first of all, is, if we're going to do something together, we've got to at least get on some level on the same page. One of the things we do with the owner managers and sometimes the supervisors is create a spirit of commitment agreement or a good faith agreement that outlines things you do and things you don't do, and get them to sign it. And it's a way of bonding them and reminding them that they need to be gracious, they need to pay attention, they need to leave their agendas behind. That what's important to everybody is making sure that this company, this business is doing the best it can, and helping them understand that they have an accountability and a responsibility. So it's a matter of communication. It's a matter of being present. If you want to run a company, you really have to be present. You can't be running around having favorites, having your own agendas. You need to be there, part of it. The world out there today thinks that all employees should be engaged, and they should, but at the same time, owners need to be engaged, and they need to be engaging. So it runs both ways. You can't have an engaged environment if you as an owner or managers are not paying attention to your responsibility. Apologize for rambling on, but it was kind of a big question, so apologies.
That's no problem. So when you talk about this goodwill agreement, is that something that they create together, or is it something that the leadership creates and then shares with the employees?
Well, we have we've been using it for about 25 years, and there are various forms of it. We share a number of them with the owners. We start with the owner managers. Small, medium-sized businesses, owners are managers normally. And we walk through it. It's interesting, even in some of the most difficult situations, and in some situations might be construed as corrupt. We found that people embrace it, and especially if and it's a very good point that you have, that that they're involved, that they say, well, no, I want to say this. This is really important. I want to make sure that we don't do this or we do this or whatever. So the more they're involved in making that happen and in creating it, the better off they're going to be.
Yeah, I would think so, because at least then they have buy-in.
Yes, you have a buy-in, and it also gives permission, because one of the imperatives there is that, and accountabilities, is that every member, and there could be 5 members, 3 members, 10 members, or whatever, that have signed on for this, that they need to speak up. They can't not speak up. So everybody who's signed on to that thing, and it's not a legal agreement, it's a good faith agreement. And when they sign on to it, that means that they can't be passive aggressive. They can't wait it out, or, oh, I really don't know how to say that. No, everybody needs to step forward. And if this isn't feeling well, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Well, that sounds to me like the leadership really has to drive that train, right? Like if the leadership isn't open to people safely speaking their mind and speaking up if something isn't, going quite well, then people aren't going to do it.
Well, it's interesting. Most of the time we've used it in environments where there's some level of major change or some level of challenge. We've also used it in situations where you've got some normal projects that you have to do. You've got to design a major system for your company, and there's no trouble going on. There's no factions or whatever. It's just a bunch of good people trying to make things happen. But we still use it. And in each case, oftentimes it's those individuals who are not just the owners, okay, who really do take this to heart, because for the first time, maybe they've been given not only a voice, but they've been given permission, accountability to do it. And you will find owners that will then say, well, okay, now I can raise my hand. I can do this too, because oftentimes they don't know how to articulate these things. Leaders don't know. And I've watched many a situation where the supervisors and managers have had much more buy-in on this and much more, we're going to make this happen attitude than the owner does. And sometimes the owner gets it later on. Sometimes they are saying, well, this is a really great thing. I've had people who literally were, you can't use the word bad people, but they've done bad things to this business. And they raised their hand and they said, you know what, I'm going to make this happen. And it's always been amazed me that I don't think we've had one situation where people did not raise their hand and say, I'll sign this agreement.
Huh. Interesting. So what really is a revolutionary conversation?
Well, it's going to vary from people to people. I remember seeing, your list of 8 questions, and I said, well, I'm going to run back to the book and look at what it says. But, it varies. And, for me, it's an opportunity for people to have a collaborative interaction where we're both present, or everybody's present. We're not thinking about something else. We all understand that this conversation is a we conversation. It's not about me telling or you listening, or you telling and me listening. We take responsibility for making sure everything gets said that needs to be said, making sure that we are, again, present, make sure that we're genuine about what's going on. And what makes it revolutionary is that because there's more crisp, good, emotional content going on, the end results tend to be superior. And that's one of the reasons why we call it revolutionary. It doesn't have to be heated. Hopefully it's not overly heated, but revolutionary conversations can smooth out. Somebody who pays attention to the tools in the book can begin to take a highly charged environment and turn it into a revolutionary conversation by raising their hand again and saying, I need to stop here, and I need to be able to, if I'm going to participate, I need to understand where I'm going, and I need some help. And and really be able to be accountable, because I want to be part of here. I want to be part of this.
Right. Right. So is that how a company can get employees to increase their productivity, is by having the power to have those conversations?
Well, one of the things we've learned over the years is that the employees, team members, have so much more to offer than anybody would ever imagine.
Yeah.
And it isn't really a matter of the owners motivating them, because many times they're already motivated. The door's never been opened, the table's never been cleared. The safety is important. The fact that you can, again, that's one of the things that the goodwill agreement, the good faith agreement focuses on. It gives permission to be able to interact. It also helps that we have outsiders. I mean, we're outsiders, obviously. Many times I've run the companies for anywhere from 2.5 months to 2 years or so, which makes a big difference because I'm clearly open to the interaction. But it goes back to the collaboration. The owners and managers have to take responsibility for their own accountabilities, their own being authentic. Employees, team members pick up lack of authenticity. I can't say it right off the bat.
Yeah.
My partner Noel and I do a lot of work in the CPA world, and I'm not picking on CPAs, but they're always very busy, and partners are supposed to meet with the team members and take them out to lunch and mentor them and whatever. And I'll tell you, all it takes is if you let that team member down twice for lunch because you got a client to go to, or you got a more important meeting, that whole authentic aspect and that whole trust, I wouldn't say it disappears, but it needs to be rebuilt. You got to get that traction going again. You got to get that excitement going again. Don't let it, you just can't let people down.
Right. So that's interesting for me. So you will actually go in and run a company for a while, and is that so that to be able to implement this culture, or I guess, cultural shift?
Absolutely. It's one the cultural shift, the communication parts of that are, I wouldn't say the secret ingredient that we've had for years. I mean, we don't go in telling people. We go in and apply our experience, our context. We may have to raise money. We may have to fire people. We may have to create alliances. We may have to do mergers or acquisitions. But all of it is done in the spirit of that collaboration and a cultural shift. That means that everybody in this organization is important. And that's very hard for companies that oftentimes are in trouble. It can also be very difficult for companies that have been going along for decades doing the same old thing, being successful based on inertia or just they're in the right place at the right time. But being able to be part of the group and still be the boss is very difficult, because when you want to be the boss, you want to tell people what to do.
Yeah.
But instead, as a leader, you need to interact with these people in a way that their energies are moving with your energies, and that your decisions are based on their interaction with you. It doesn't mean that you're always taking their vote, because in my case, for instance, with over 100 turnarounds or re-engineering projects, I kind of know what needs to happen, but I don't know what needs always to happen in this organization or that organization unless they're playing ball, unless they want to reach out and work with us. And when they do, and almost always they do, things, I don't want to say miracles happen, but a lot of really good things happen.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm going to take a quick sponsor break, and then I have some more questions for you.
Sure.
Accelerate Your Business Growth podcast is happy to be sponsored by Audible.com. Audible.com is a leading provider of spoken digital audio entertainment and information. They have over 150,000 titles to choose from, and you can listen to them on any device, including whatever you're hearing us on right now. If you sign up at our link, which is audibletrial.com/businessgrowth, you get one free audiobook and a 1-month trial of the service. Some examples of books you can listen to on audible.com are 80/20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall and The Go-Giver by Bob Berg. So visit audibletrial.com/businessgrowth, explore the books that are of interest to you, and receive one free audiobook when you sign up for the trial. Today we're talking with Mark Fowler about the value of revolutionary conversations. So Mark, you talk about SHARE tools, and SHARE is an acronym. Can you share with us what they are and how they help businesses?
Well, there are 5 tools. We used to joke about it being the 5-speed gearbox, but 5-speed gearboxes went away a long time ago. Stop, help, ask, risk, and explore. And in each one of them, has its own responsibilities. And it is not a contrived situation. In other words, I didn't decide that SHARE would be a great way to do this. It evolved. I had been working because I realized that communication, number one, that I wasn't the best communicator in the world, and that more communication needed to be part of the work that we did, especially in the reengineering work. I started taking classes in communication, and I met a lady, Gloria Axelrod, and Gloria was an active listening professional, and we worked together. And she would work with my clients, and we would teach at UCLA. And it's while I was watching the students do role plays that I began to see that there were patterns in conversation that we weren't instructing them in doing. And it took about 4 or 5 years of watching these things and writing notes and whatever to come up with an idea that there was something else going on. And that's how, when I started putting this information together, that's how SHARE evolved. And then we were so surprised that it was so easy, or it looked easy. We did a lot of research. We did a lot of, before we brought it out in a big way, we made sure that it actually worked. Worked in clients, worked at UCLA, worked at Cal Society of CPAs, in all different kinds of ways before we put a seal of approval of our own on it, that it wasn't in any way contrived, but that it worked. And quite frankly, it works just about all the time.
Okay. So can you maybe like a small synopsis on each one of them? Like, I guess what I'm curious about is how they actually help businesses, and you went through what it stands for sort of quickly. So let's back up a little bit.
Sure.
And, maybe just shortly hit on each one.
Well, stop. I mean, in the chapter, it talks about, stop in order to go forward. So many people don't take the time to interact in a conversation. They just assume they'll pick it up later. Or they hum a few bars and figure out that things are moving forward, that it's okay to stop. And that we go through in the book, we go through all kinds of different ways, different examples in business and non-business, internal stops as opposed to external stops. As time goes on, you should be able to never even use the word stop, because you've begun to create your own words to begin to interact or interface into the conversation, raise your hand, so to speak. Help is about taking responsibility for what you don't understand. People, you watch it all the time. We talk about asking good questions. Oh, what's a good question? Okay. If you're not paying attention to what it is that you're confused about, and a lot of people don't want to do that. They want anybody to know they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
It's hard to say, you know what, you use the word supply chain, and you know what, I've read about it. I'm not so sure I understand what it means about, I'm confused by how it applies to this particular situation. And there's where the authenticity kicks in, okay? Everybody's got to be honest about, well, you stopped the conversation. What is it what's going on? And oftentimes it's a critical component into what everybody needs to be discussing. You know, when you're doing a lecture and somebody raises their hand and says, God, I don't know what you're talking about. And everybody, half the class goes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, there's no reason why you can't do that on a day-to-day basis. You know, there's no reason why you're at the checkout stand and you didn't hear what they happened to say about a special that you missed. You know, wow, was that a special? Help me out with that. So, and what does ask mean? Well, ask means once you understand and you've got an agreement to get help, let's begin to ask some questions that drill down on what the subject is, as opposed to flailing around asking questions, trying to figure out what really is going on by being smart, clever, or whatever, to find out what you think you didn't really understand. Risk means that at some point in time you've gotten a level of information that, and you're on somewhat more of the same page, that people can begin to talk about new ideas that they would have never thought about, or discover something within the conversation that oh my God, I didn't realize that was available, or that's an option, and boy, we could add another alternative to that as well. Can I share that? Well, because you're already on the same page a bit, that becomes good food for the conversation, good grist for the mill. And then explore is about how do you use that information. And then you keep going back and forth to stop, help, ask, risk, explore. You keep using it. That's where that 5-speed gearbox kicks in.
Yeah.
You keep going back, and somebody else in the conversation says, wow, that's a mouthful. Can we go back a little bit about that? And a lot of people say, well, that takes a lot of time, Well, it doesn't take a lot of time. Once you've learned the skill, it's sort of built into your DNA in some ways, so that you can even have really quick conversations, and all five of those tools got used. In meetings, sometimes, meetings will go on and on and on because, I'm in 3 mergers right now, and we're having a lot of discussions about things that sometimes wasn't brought up that should have been brought up, and we're having conversations about it, and it's revolutionary conversations that I, in this particular case, might be using in order to get people to continue to share more, to take more responsibility, and get things done that we could never have gotten done in 2 hours as opposed to 2 months.
Thank you for that. Thank you. That is really, really valuable. And I can totally see how adopting this sort of practice can help not just a company, but the individuals in a company. It sort of, lifts the entire thing. Now, you talk about an I know mentality, and I'd like you to share some of that. It seemed to me when you were talking about the share that the part of, not speaking up and asking a question, or, owning that you don't know something, seeking help. I get that there's a danger of that. Is that the same as the I know mentality, or is the I know mentality something different?
Well, the I know mentality is, I'll give you 2 examples. They go on they can be at distinctly different levels. One can be a corporate I know, and one can be an individual, I know.
Okay.
Years and years ago, I worked with a distribution company that worked to support manufacturers, and they wanted to learn how to grow the business. There was nothing wrong with the company. They just felt that 10 years from now, they wanted to retire and wanted to retire well. So we did a lot of interactions. We interviewed the team members and whatever, but we also went out and interviewed quite a few of the customers. And I went out with a sales manager, and we would go out and talk to the customers and try to get a sense of what their perception was of my client and what was the value add of my client, gave to them. And it was actually pretty hard. I mean, we're interacting, having really good meetings. Sometimes we went to lunch and whatever, but it was just, we just loved these guys, it was at a level that we couldn't really get anything of a detail. And so one meeting that we were asked to talk to the purchasing agent of this large manufacturing firm. And, he enjoyed the conversation, but we got a lot of what we already knew until he reached across the table and said, "Would you give this to your R&D department?" And I said, "R&D department?" And in my mind, I said, "We don't have an R&D department, do we?" And so I kind of, I'm going to say finessed is not the right word, but I said, well, every time we give them something, they want to know more information. So do you think you could help us understand what this is? So I did a stop and a help and an ask. And 45 minutes later, it turned out that the salesman in that company had been not only taking orders, but they had been involved in the manufacturing process. And so they would go back and they'd huddle, and then they would come back to their customer with new ideas about how they might apply the particular products that they were selling them. So why wouldn't the purchasing agent begin to think that there was R&D department? So when we went back to the company, there was an R&D department. It was a big closet full of stuff and whatever. So what's the I know? Well, the owners of the business said, well, I know why my customers appreciated us. And none of the things that they knew related to the R&D department. So taking that attitude of I know, as opposed to being surprised, is always going to be a mistake. I've gotten to the point where every conversation I expect a blessing. What I mean by a blessing, a surprise, something that we could have never drilled down on ever if we wanted to go in there with a list of 10 questions, But I want those blessings, those perceptions that you cannot pay for, in order to make things change.
Interesting. So it's really about being curious and not assuming that you know what matters to your clients, what they value most. I would imagine it's probably the same is true for not assuming you know what your employees, what matters to them most as well.
Right. Yeah. Mm. It's always been amazing to me, especially in the turnaround aspect, where owners will sometimes just be so mad at the employees. They don't do this, they don't do that, and then we drill down. We open up ourselves to the team members and whatever, and you'll find out that they have so much more to offer. And in some ways, they're heartbroken that they've not been able to participate in a way that really equates to the commitment that they have to this business that they have been in 5 years, 10 years, 2 weeks, or whatever. It's not connected. And this is probably a little non-business oriented, but when you can click into the heart of the team members and what they really want to do and their passion, owners and the company benefit way beyond they could ever pull out of them.
Definitely. Yeah.
I remember one time we had 75 people. I had a large company. I had 75 people. They had a really big conference room. It was kind of like a basketball, basketball court at a high school where you had bleachers and whatever practically. And we were there for 3 days with them, helping them understand how they were important to us. I think I ran the whole thing myself. It was a really amazing thing to do. And, they had their I knows. They came with their I knows. I know how to fix this company or whatever. And by the time they were finished, they realized that they had a piece to the puzzle. They didn't have the answer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. And probably, it's so interesting. So I see why it's revolutionary, because that can absolutely be life-changing and business-changing when you have that realization.
I think three of the participants came up to me crying and hugging me because nobody else had ever asked them for their opinion.
Wow. Interesting. This is fascinating. It's such an interesting topic, and something I think not enough business leaders are really embracing. So I thank you for taking time and joining me today. Can you tell my listeners how they can get the book and how they can, find you and whatever you got going on?
Well, we have two websites, Revolutionary Conversations, LLC. You can just look www.revolutionaryconversations.net. The Stowe Management, you can just look up Stowe Management Corporation and then you'll find our website. My email address is the letter E, Stowe, Stowe, management, spelled out, at AOL.com. As far as the books, the books can be purchased on Amazon.com. They're both an ebook and a paperback type book, mass market book.
Fabulous. Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. And I would like to thank our listeners as well as our sponsor. Please remember to visit audibletrial.com/businessgrowth to sign up for a free trial and get a free audiobook when you do. Please continue to prosper and be curious. And as always, until we meet again on another episode of Accelerate Your Business Growth, goodbye and good day.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Oh, that's a cheer we used to do in softball.
What? It's actually Geico's.
Whenever someone hit a triple, we would wave our bats and yell, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. But we never got to use it because we would only hit home runs. Annoying.
The phrase is from Geico because they help save people money.
Geico? Yeah, they were our team sponsor.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Hey friends, this is Jim Knight, former 21-year Hard Rock executive turned best-selling author and top 10 keynote speaker.
And I'm Brant Menswar, former frontman of Hollywood's Most Dangerous Band turned top 10 motivational speaker and best-selling author.
We host the how-to podcast Thoughts That Rock, where we talk to rock stars, athletes, CEOs, astronauts, and even next-door neighbors who share their expertise and opinions. Together, we tackle the most interesting and challenging topics of today.
Whether you want to learn how to become more confident, how to deal with anxiety at work,
or how to write a hit song, or use Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in life,
we've got hundreds of episodes to help amp up your life and move you forward.
Subscribe to Thoughts That Rock wherever you listen to podcasts, and check out evergreenpodcast.com for more information.